culture, and in many ways, more importantly, the social structure have just been devastated.
While Yemen may not be a top priority for the Obama administration, Bodine, now at Georgetown University, says it should be. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, or AQAP, seems to be thriving in this chaos.
If you want to look at it in realist terms, the only real beneficiaries have been AQAP and ISIS. That's clearly not in our interest. And I do think we have a broader humanitarian concern.
Since the Saudis entered the war and fighting intensified, more than 3,000 civilians have been killed. The United Nations has an ambitious timeline to start winding down this conflict and begin political talks in mid-April. Those negotiations will be incredibly difficult, says Ali of the International Crisis Group.
We go back to all of those issues then that started the conflict in the first place, that are unresolved, that are more difficult. Structure of the state, national level power sharing in the military and in the government. And the road to peace is going to be long and difficult in Yemen.
In the early days of the Arab uprisings, Yemen was actually held up as a model. The region came together on a political transition plan. That bargain fell apart, though, and Ali says it will be much harder now to put Yemen back on track. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, Washington.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News. Scientists say they are one step closer today in the search for an essence of life. They've created an organism with what appears to be the minimum number of genes to sustain the life form. As NPR's Ray Ellen Bichelle reports, the development could lead to new manufacturing methods.
In the mid-1990s, a few top biologists set out on a quest to make an organism that would have only the genes that are absolutely essential for survival.
We were asking basic fundamental questions of life. What did we think might comprise the most primitive cell?
That's J. Craig Venter, a genome scientist and founder and CEO of a research institute in his name. He says it was mostly philosophical curiosity.
We decided it gave us a chance to ask unique questions about fundamental biology and origins of life.
This week, 2 decades later, Venter and colleagues published one possible answer in the journal Science. They've created a single-celled organism with only 473 genes. That gives it the smallest genome of any known living thing that can reproduce on its own. For comparison, humans have about 20,000 genes. They started with an already very simple bacterium. If a gene could be removed without disrupting the cell's ability to live, grow, and reproduce, it was. Out it went. And here's the interesting part. They had to keep a lot more genes than they expected. There are about 150 of them, a third of this cell's genome, that it can't live without, but no one knows what they're for. Venter says that's the next goal, to figure out what the heck all those mysterious genes actually do.
This is essential for understanding all of life, to understand the basic components.
But not just for the pure knowledge. He and his colleagues have bigger goals. They eventually want to be able to design cells that would produce whatever chemical they want them to. In that sense, the minimal cell could be like the frame of a car, a starting point on which to build.
So it's a basic component that we can add things to.